team.
Hello, this is Malorian. This is the Orc Tactical Team, and we're going to do this while on the drive during the 5-hour commute again. So what we're going to be talking about today is actually going to the 20-0 system and talking more about that as a tournament format, the pluses, the minuses, and just general things you need to worry or that it actually helps with. Just talking about the system. Now, to start off with, what is the 20-0 system for those who have no idea? And what that really is a tournament system where you're going to be getting somewhere between 0 to 20 points depending on how well you did in the game. And of course, it's always going to add up to 20 points between you and your opponent. So a tie is 10-10. You could have 15-5, whatever it is. But to determine what level you get depends on the victory points difference between the winner and the loser. Now, there's no real hard set, like this is the limit for this is the limit for that. But for example, it could be a thing where, if you need at least 101 points different to make it to 11-9 win. The 20-0, you have to be 1,500 more victory points than your opponent. But for the vast majority, there is no hard set thing. You might break this down in equal segments going all the way through. It might be increasing as you go up higher. The main idea behind it, though, is that it really breaks down the win. So the level of win is really defined. Now, let's talk about why this system is good. Now, the reason why this system is good is, first of all, from a tournament organizer. If you're trying to do pairings and all you have is win-loss or something like that, it can be really hard and you can have a lot of ties, and you can find a lot of times that after so many games, unless you have perfect amount of games to knock out everyone with Swiss pairing, you can have ties in the end. And so you really want a system with lots of different ways to get points, so it makes your matchups a lot more straightforward. So that's fantastic. What the 20-0 system also does is really encourages aggressive play. So you're not going to have usually people just hiding away and stuff like this. Like, you can't do Wood Elves and get your little I won by 100 points. Well, big deal. I mean, 100 points means that you get a little tiny win, and the guys that got the 20-0 are going to rush forward, right? So it kind of increases that play, and at the end of the day, you kind of know by yourself, okay, a bigger win, more victory points is a better win, right? That's the whole idea behind it. Now, as nice as this all sounds, there's also a big negative to the 20-0 system, and that's really the whole idea of how it is forcing this aggressive play and how it's completely ruined if somebody throws a game. So here's the problem. You have an ogre player with Death Stars and stuff, or you might have a Warriors of Chaos guy that's all really killy and all these things, right? Really fast, points denial, and they're gonna be the guys that go out there and get the 20-0s because they're not going to be giving up a lot of points. They're set up to massacre and table the opponent, and at the end of the day, they're the types of armies that are going to be winning these types of systems. Meanwhile, the guy that's running Wood Elves or something like that will not be getting the tablings, will not be getting that many victory points, and will just have no chance. And it really comes down to the debate, well, is a win a win? Why are there these different levels? Why is it better for somebody to go and take a Death Star of Iron Guts full of characters and smash everything, as opposed to an Empire army based around MSU on multiple small units that's going to slowly give up some small units, but in the end wear you down, go for the flanks, break you down in the end, and win overall? Why should one victory be seen better as the other? So that's really something that's a challenge of the system. Another problem with it too is with these massive swings, because if you get it, so I went up like a guy and his Vampire Lord exploded, so there you go, 20-0. All of a sudden I have a massive lead, massive. Or what happens if somebody just gives up, right? Because if somebody gives up, it turns into a 20-0. So these things can really throw off the game where, really, unless you have multiple people getting these big things, if somebody gets a sudden 20-0, bam, they're really jumping up the pack. So it is something that's really difficult. And I mean, that's the thing with running tournaments. There is no perfect system. There's going to be always a plus or minus to everything you do. Now, one thing you can always do is do kind of a mixed system. You can always use the 20-0 for pairings and then use something else for the overall winner. So let's say, for example, you go out and have players play, and then they score themselves their wins on a 20-0, and then after that, you're going to be going and pairing them by those numbers. But at the end of the day, the winner of the whole tournament is going to be based more on wins, losses. Let's say that it was, so you have enough people. So like if you have 8 people, great. 3 games, you can do Swiss pairing and figure out a winner. But just the pairings are going to be done off the 20-0 system for points. And that way what you have is that people with really aggressive armies going against each other, which makes for much better games, and people that want to play a more like careful, slow game to break things down, they're paired up against people too. And you really find that these are much better games in my experience. So again, I already said that no system is perfect, and you could argue as well that, okay, well, maybe those games aren't better, right? If you have 2 people going all out fighting each other, you're going to have massive victory points on both sides, and then, well, you're not going to get a 20-0 in that situation. Same thing for the pairings for the little guys, right? Where, okay, since I always win by a little amount, I'm always going to be paired against the people that win by a little amount, and it's actually like an advantage to me, because if I'm better at this style, I can just chip away, avoid all the power armies, and I get the win. So again, it really is hard to balance. I just saw a post on this on Warseer, so I thought I'd bring this up, talk about all the pros and cons, and hey, as always, please post your thoughts down below, and we'll see you next time. Bye.